In today's Leeds news, Wober speaks on his future, more TV time for Leeds, Roca's Betis move off, and Player of the Month awards. Morning folks, Jay here at The View on Wednesday morning, the 17th of April with your Leeds United news. Hope you're having a good week. It's a quiet one, it's pretty thin on the ground, heading towards 30,000 subscribers and the one a week. If you do like the channel, if you're not subscribed and you want to be subscribed, you can catch up on your daily news intake by pressing the subscribe button down below and helping us to get towards that 30k mark, which is nuts, mad, and I really appreciate everyone that's helped me to get there. Thank you. There's not a huge amount of news on the ground today, so we'll go through a few bits and pieces. I do want to caveat the whole thing today because there's a lot of loan player stuff in this, but just making a point to people that keep asking the question. The players that signed new deals for Leeds last season and left on loan had these loan agreement clauses. If Leeds don't get promoted to the Premier League, these loan clauses kick in again next season, which could see a lot of these players stay at the clubs they're at loan or go to new clubs on loan next year. So I want to just clarify that to people because there's a bit of confusion and it seems to be a revelation that this is happening. It's been in the contracts and it was mentioned at the start of the season. I just wanted to clarify that for people who were asking. We're going to talk a bit about them today. We're going to start off by talking about Max Wober's situation. We have talked an awful lot about the speculation surrounding Max Wober's future at Leeds United and at Gladbach, and earlier this week we mentioned that Gladbach were finding it difficult to raise the funds in order to make a permanent move for the player and finding it difficult to make an agreement with Leeds United around the fee to sign the want-away defender to a permanent deal at the club. Gladbach themselves had said a deal with Leeds was very unlikely unless Leeds lowered their valuation of the player, which seems increasingly unlikely as there is other interest in the player and Leeds are looking to recoup the amount of money they spent on him. From a PNS perspective, they would need to at least do that, and there is, as I said, other interest in the player. Now Wober himself has finally spoken on the situation and says that he hasn't heard anything from Gladbach's upper management or from Leeds United's upper management, which is leaving the player in this weird limbo situation. Currently, his contract at Leeds doesn't expire until the summer of 2027, and he was speaking to Bild in Germany about the situation, and he had the following to say about it. I haven't heard from Gladbach in a while. They're squad planning for next season. I'm curious whether anyone from Gladbach will come to me or from Leeds United. Nobody has talked to me yet. Leeds are in the middle of a promotion fight and they have better things to do at the moment than to talk to their loan players about their future. Bild goes on to say that Leeds are thought to be keen to sell the player in the summer so long as they can recoup the £11 million they spent on the player last season. It's a tricky situation for Max Wober. It's not great that the two clubs that you're kind of contracted and semi-contracted to, none of them are speaking to you with a couple of weeks left in the season. If it is the case that Gladbach are in squad planning, they already said this week there's no more talks planned with Leeds United unless Leeds drop their asking price. Leeds are not expected to do that. If Wober does come back to the club, Leeds will look to sell or loan him back out again, depending on what division they're in. It seems to be very apparent that if Leeds do get promoted, these players will be sold. If Leeds don't get promoted, that opens the gates to everything again, to Mark Roca's, Brendan Aronson's, Diego Llorente, Rasmus Christensen, Jack Harrison, Max Wober. All of them can go again on loan next season should Leeds fail to get promoted to the Championship. The caveat in the contract is there's a loan clause while Leeds United are out of the Premier Division. So it's an interesting situation. Wober started talking an awful lot about Leeds' season. He's been very high in his praise for Leeds. Should be pointed out that Max Wober, at the start of this season, there was a couple of news stories, I think we covered them at the very beginning of the season, where Wober had committed to coming back to Leeds and given Leeds a push to help get promoted to the Premier League. Leeds agreed to let him do the photo shoots because of that, and then the player got an offer from Gladbach and left straight away. So after having talked with Daniel Farke about being committed to helping Leeds get promoted, and then he went when the first opportunity came up. So that story is floating around. You can go back and scroll through the news. It's way back at the start of the season, but it is there. Anyway, moving on, let's talk about a popular topic amongst Leeds fans, and that's more TV time for Sky Sports and Leeds United. By the end of this season, Leeds United will have appeared on television 32 times for Sky, which is a new EFL record, or new Sky record, breaking the previous record held by Leeds United in 2018-2019. Sky representatives spoke earlier this season about trying to repair the damage between the Leeds United fans and Sky in an effort to try and stem the anti-Sky chanting that is picked up by Sky's microphones and cameras on a regular basis when visiting Ellen Road or when just covering Leeds in general. Sky responded to this by moving more Leeds fixtures and upsetting the Leeds United fan base even more by swapping more and more fixtures around. We've seen the Scandinavian Leeds fans complain on Twitter about the fact that they had flights booked, hotels booked, and the game was moved and they missed the match because of it. So Sky don't seem to really care about any fan base. Well, some more news on this. There's a new update, and Sky and the EFL have agreed a new deal which will see even more EFL games televised next season, with all midweek games now scheduled to be televised on the platform. Daniel Farke and Leeds United complained earlier on this season about the lack of common sense that was present between the EFL and Sky when it came to moving fixtures, that was causing fixture congestion in an unnecessary period of the season and putting pressure on sides to get their players fit, ready and healthy for the next set of games, and rested, more importantly, between matches. But it now seems to be a situation that if Leeds don't get promoted from the Championship and get out of the EFL, there will be more matches televised next season, and we could see a situation where more games are moved to midweek in order to accommodate this deal and the revenue that Sky make from Leeds fans watching games around the world. Not a great situation, but that's Sky for you. Moving on, Mark Roca. I said we were going to talk an awful lot about the loan players. Well, Mark Roca is the next one to talk about, and we've talked a lot about the same couple of players, but the situations keep changing. We did say this a couple of weeks ago, that the closer we get to the end of the season, the more this would start to come up and the more clarity that would start to become around these players. Well, we've talked a lot about Roca's future. Betis want him. He wants to stay at Betis. Leeds want to sell him. He's bought a house in Betis. Well, now according to Estadio Deportivo, his chances of staying at Betis have hit a massive stumbling block. According to the publication, they say that there is next to no chance of Betis activating the £10.25 million buyout clause in his loan agreement. As mentioned, Roca is keen to stay in the region and did buy a house there, but as report says, Betis are unlikely to fork out what they call that kind of money on the player unless, again, Leeds lower their expectations in the transfer. Roca's deal at Leeds doesn't run out until the summer of 2026, but if Leeds don't go up, the player, as I've already said, can stay at Betis on loan, and that appears to be the hope of a lot of these clubs. They have negotiated these buyout clauses in these loan deals, but it's becoming more and more apparent that these clubs had no intention of ever paying these clauses for players that have played consistently for them all season, and instead we're hoping that Leeds would stay out of the Premier League for a couple of years and keep these players on loan, hope their contracts expire, and then either get them at a discounted rate or sign them for free. Stadio Deportivo go on to say that if Leeds do go up into the Premier League next season, Betis have almost 100% ruled out any moves to sign the player on a permanent deal, and that is despite the fact that Betis are pushing for a European place themselves this season. It's a strange situation. We saw it with Diego Llorente last year at Roma, where they negotiated an £18 million buyout clause, then decided they didn't want to pay it. Leeds got relegated, and the loan deal that the new contract that Llorente had signed just before his loan to Roma kicked in with the loan clause. He goes back to Roma on loan, and let's talk about £4.5 million fee. So you would hope when these players do come back, whatever the loan agreements are from the current ownership, when these players go out, you would hope that there's some more ironclad clauses, that there's obligations to buy these players rather than options to buy, because it's becoming more and more apparent that European clubs either don't have the money or have zero intentions of paying the buyout clauses. Rock has been a standout player for Betis for most of this year, except since the turn of the year when he had a bout of pneumonia. Same can be said for Max Wober, who's been one of the better players in the Mönchengladbach side, talked about by their owner, chairman and manager on a regular basis, saying that they don't have a player like him when he's not fit. So it's a strange situation. It really, really is an odd one. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But according to Estadio Deportivo, Mark Roca to Betis has zero chance of happening should Leeds get promoted. And then moving on finally today, just to recognise some of the players for their achievements over the last month or so. There's been 2 Player of the Month awards. Joe Rodon has picked up the Leeds United official Player of the Month award on from the club's official site, voted on by Leeds United fans. So well done to Joe. And Ethan Ampadu has won the PFA's Championship Player of the Month for March as well. Interesting to see it's 2 defenders that get the Player of the Month awards for Leeds, considering we've gone through this little wobbly period where we've started conceding goals from open play again. But very much not Joe Rowan or Ethan Ampadu's fault. It's more a collective issue than anything else. Folks, that's going to be it for me today. Very thin on the ground, as I said. Back tomorrow morning with more Leeds news. Hopefully just some more stuff to talk about. Not a great result last night with Southampton winning, but Preston were poor and very much look like a side whose season is over. Let's hope for better results coming into the weekend. Leeds won't play till Monday night, so we've got a bit of time before we kick in again. There will be some new bonus content out over the weekend as well. And then I'm away next week in Seattle, so I fly out on Friday, so there won't be a news video Friday this week. But there will be some content into next week. I will try and get something done over in Seattle when I'm there. I'll bring some gear with me and see what we can get knocked out. Right, folks, massive thanks as always for supporting the channel, and I will see you tomorrow for more Leeds news. Have a great rest of your day. See you then. Bye.